and welcome to the next session here at Fundraising Online. We are very excited to be part of it, and we are also very excited to talk with you about marketing automation.
Hey guys.
But before we jump into that, we would like to introduce ourselves. My name is Eva Hieninger. I'm partner and managing director of Changemaking Germany.
And here's Gregor Nilsson speaking. I'm the managing director of Changemaking in Switzerland. Changemaking is a digital agency focused on digital marketing and fundraising for nonprofits.
And as I said, we are really excited to talk with you about marketing automation, and we do have a little agenda prepared. First off, we're going to start and talk about what marketing automation actually is, as it is quite a buzzword and people mostly might not know what there is behind. And we're going to go into it deep and see what is marketing automation and what can it do for nonprofit organizations.
Second point is another big buzzword today, which is supporter or donor journeys. And we're going to have a look at what is meant with donor journeys and especially how it is related to marketing automation.
And then we do have two best practices for you. The first is with the Salvation Army, where we did lead generation and conversion, donor conversions.
And the second is a case about donor retention for FairMed.
So we're going to start with what marketing automation actually is. In the past, there were a lot of organizations, and actually there are still a lot of organizations who have a message, and they spread this message as loudly and as widely as possible, with the hopes that as many people as possible hear that message. It could be that a lot of people hear that message and say, yeah, that's exactly how it is. But there will probably also be a lot of people who say, yeah, that's somehow right. But there also will be people who won't react at all to the message the organization's trying to bring to the people. And there comes in marketing automation, because with marketing automation, you can achieve that you bring the exact message to the right person at the right time. For example, if you have a petition online, it is important that before you ask for a donation, you actually tell the person who participated in your petition, hey, thank you for your voice. Thank you that you participated in this activity, and now you're part of our community, and we're really happy about that. And that's something you need to tell the people before you ask them for a donation. Or another example is that obviously, if you're a quite diverse organization and you have different topics, some, for example, environmental organizations, they protect the Amazon, they protect the oceans, they protect dolphins, tigers, and each person has a different interest. So it is important that you tell the person who is interested in the ocean, hey, you love the sea as much as I do, so let's protect the ocean together. And the person who is more interested in tigers or panda bears, you tell them, hey, we can do and protect these animals together. And so again here, the right message to the proper people at the right time. And it is also important that you thank the people who support you for quite a long time on a regular basis, to affirm that what they are doing is right. And because for them it's rewarding to get that confirmation that they are doing a right thing. And that again you can do with marketing automation. So you don't need to look up in your CRM, oh, who is a donor for 5 years, and then send them an email. You just can automate that, and the people will have that feeling that they are part of something bigger. So with marketing automation, organizations can enter into an automated dialogue that takes into account the individual needs and reactions and also interests of their supporters and donors. And now I'm giving over to my colleague who is going to tell you more about the really important topic of supporter and donor journeys.
All right, so now let's have a look at donor and supporter journeys. Now, let's take, as an example, let's have a look at how lead management often works. So let's think about lead management as a date. So you meet somebody for the first time. And this person might say something like, hey, how are you? How are you doing? And so you answer, I'm good, thanks. And I mean, that's pretty okay. That's how life works. That's how a day would work, a date usually work. But what often happens in fundraising is that we actually go straight away to the second step, which is something like, hey, I love you. And we even don't wait any further and say something like, I want to marry you, which in our fundraising context might be a membership or a adoption or a sponsorship, whatever. So actually what organizations often try to do is to get a lead and basically convert it to a high value donor within maybe some minutes or some days. But that's not how things work, because as you might know from real life, if you try to do that trick, you probably scare people. You will scare your date, and the guy or the lady will run away quite quickly. So what we need to do is that we need to establish a relationship. And we will probably need to go a pretty long way together in order to get to the point where we can ask somebody to marry us. So we need to take that way. And actually what we do from a fundraising perspective here is that we work with the so-called life cycle principle. So, okay, we have somebody that seems to be interested in some way in whatever you do. And we always need to take people one step further. So somebody who's a lead seems to be interested. Next logical step is to make a first donation. But that might not happen within the next 24 hours after a newsletter subscription. We need to take some steps. We need to engage with people to describe what the organization stands for, maybe show how money is used, and so on and so on. Okay, so then we're on the next stage. We have the first donation. What we now need to do is that we need to develop people further. We need to confirm that this first donation was the right choice, that the money is used wisely, that they really can do a difference with their donations. Because if we can tell the right story, if we can explain that it makes sense to donate for your cause, we will get them to a maybe a monthly giving program, to a sponsorship. We'll get them to be really committed so that they are willing to donate on a regular basis. And I mean, you're all fundraisers and you know that that is actually the fundament of each organization. Having people donating regularly is what you need in order to run your business, your projects, in order to stand at the top of what you're doing. But what actually happens in fundraising, same as what happens in a relationship, is that maybe somebody starts to doubt, is this right? Is it okay to donate for them? Should I maybe stop? Should I maybe only donate once in a while? So they start to get endangered. And here is important to get them back. It is important to react to the first signs that somebody might drop their commitment and to get them back on the right track. or even if it happens to lose them completely, there's still not too late. There's always the chance to reactivate them. So that is actually our life cycle we should work with, and always try to push people from the left to the middle and from the right to the middle, and keep everybody happy and committed. Okay, now if you think about, well, how should I manage all that stuff? I mean, there's hundreds of different possibilities. I have 5 categories in the life cycle. I have different content, as Eva said before, different timings, different reactions, and that is actually where marketing automation comes into the game. Because obviously, you will never be able to manage that communication manually. So we need tools, we need software which takes over the execution of the communication for us. So what we can do with marketing automation, for example, is converting leads to donors, donors to regular givers, retention journeys, reactivation. Automation is a huge tool for peer-to-peer. So you know peer-to-peer fundraising probably. I mean, the concept is you have campaigner, they start their campaigns, and they should get donors for you. And I mean, what happens there is that you totally lose control over the campaigns, because it's not you asking people for donations, it's the campaigner. So actually the campaigner sends his email whenever he wants, shares on Facebook whenever he or she wants, or maybe he or she does not. And so for that, marketing automation is a very powerful tool, because you actually can react on every single trigger, on every single action, or every single not happening action of the campaigners with an automated workflow. So in the end, coming from journeys to automation, that is actually what we need to have. We have different persons, and different persons have different paths, different touch points, different contents, different devices, different timings, and so on and so on and so on. So we need to be able to automate these journeys.
So now you heard what marketing automation is and how we can use marketing automation to automate supporter and donor journeys. And of course, you want to know how that actually looks in practice. And for that, I'm really happy to talk about our first best practice with Salvation Army Switzerland. Salvation Army is a client of Getunic for quite a while. And we did a campaign for them. And with that campaign, we firstly tried to tackle the first 2 steps in the life cycle. So we tried to generate leads and bring them from the interested stadium to the developer, which means we wanted a one-off donation from that. But a part of trying to get leads and trying to convert them to donors, Salvation Army Switzerland also had another goal, because as you know, Salvation Army is mostly known for working with homeless people. But there is another project at Salvation Army in Switzerland where they work specifically with sex workers on street. And a part of getting leads and donors, they also wanted to inform the public that also is a project they're working with. So what we did is we set up some Facebook ads. The people were clicking on the Facebook ads, they got onto a sign-up petition page, and then when they signed up and gave their voice, they were thanked immediately with an email where Salvation Army said, "Thank you for your voice, thank you for taking part in the petition." And then we sent out a series of, I think, 5 emails to increase the interest in the topic in the organization. And then after these 5 emails, we asked for an online donation. And when the people were donating online, there was immediately a thank you email that confirmed the right choice to donate online. And all the people who didn't donate online, but they interacted quite a lot with the journey, we knew that because they were opening the journey, they were clicking on the links, they actually got on a separate list. And this list was then given to someone who called them and asked for a donation via telephone. But as I said, only people who interacted. So the list was actually shorter than you usually would give a telemarketing agency. Because the people on that list were already pretty engaged and knew about the topic. So you actually had something you could talk about once you called them. So this is the ad we placed on Facebook. We always had the same key visual, but always with different claims and different post texts. And the claims were quite provocative and also something people wouldn't expect from Salvation Army. And therefore, there were a lot of comments going on, which actually increased the reach of the campaign on Facebook, which was good for the campaign in general. The targeting was that we tried to reach firstly fans and lookalikes, but then also people who were interested in the topic of human trafficking, and also Christian and people who are interested in social topics. And obviously the goal was to reach as many people as possible, to bring as many people to click on the ad, to go to the next step, the petition sign-up form. So on that page, the people were introduced a little bit more about the topic. What does Salvation Army actually have to do with prostitution? How do they work with people or with women working as sex workers on the streets? And the goal of that page was to persuade people to give their voice, give their signature. So a really important point here is that Salvation Army obviously is not really a political organization. They don't collect signatures and then go to a politician to do policy. So we converted the petition functionalities into a pledge. So it was more give your voice for people who work on the streets than, hey, we want to achieve this and that policy goal. And so in the next step, the people were, when they were clicking, I'm giving my voice for these people, they were directed to a sign-up form. On that form, we collected all the contact information and also the consent for follow-up communication. And to strengthen the relationship with the organization, with the topic and the people who took part in the pledge, we also gave them the opportunity to leave a personal message. And I am still so fascinated about that because people really use that. I think every second person who signed the pledge also left a personal message, and the personal message were this long. And we did a similar campaign for Christmas with Salvation Army, but it was about homeless people. And we actually had to have a limit on the signs on that petition, because on that pledge, because people just really liked to give their personal message and to leave a message and show their support. So and here's an example I'm going to translate. I really think it's really great what Salvation Army is doing, and that they are taking care of the women working as sex workers. And then the person actually also thanks Connie, who is the head of the project for Salvation Army, and also says, hey, because of this, I'm going to donate 100 Swiss francs right away. So here you see the people are engaged with the organization, and they also really see the point of donating to Salvation Army. even though the marketing automation hasn't started yet. So once they leave their contact information, they are going to get a thank you email right away. So this thank you email looked like this. So obviously the goal here was to thank the people and also to give them a positive affirmation of what they were doing. And you see the layout of that thank you email is pretty simple. There is no big picture, there is no big image, and also Gino, who is our contact person at Salvation Army, he has his personal details in this email because he wanted the people to know that they are heard, that they really that Salvation Army really appreciates their commitment and their engagement, and so it didn't really just have the positive affirmation aspect, but it also brought the people who participated in the pledge closer to Salvation Army right away. And then after 4 days, there was the first email sent out where we explained the context, what is Salvation Army actually doing with the topic of prostitution. And there was a call to action which brought people to learn more about the project Salvation Army in Switzerland and Zurich is working with sex workers. This was the landing page. And then again, after 4 days, there was another email which raised more awareness of the problems of street prostitutes in Switzerland, because a lot of street prostitution in Switzerland is legal, but a lot of people don't know that. And so the landing page here was just the facts. What is prostitution in Switzerland? What are the facts, and what does it actually mean? It is legal. They have to be over 18. They actually also have to pay their taxes, and so on and so forth. And then again, after 4 days, there was a story about the sex worker Jacqueline, and this was to establish an emotional connection with those affected. So she told her story, how she is, how her day works, how she is dealing with her situation. And you see here the story as a whole on the landing page. And then the next email was Connie, that's the woman with the red hair, who works at the project at Salvation Army. And she told her perspective and how she is helping the women on the streets. And then after this email, we initiated the donation process. So people were actually asked to donate at that point. And once they clicked on the donation button, they landed on this landing page where there was the donation form and where they could give money for this project. And then, as I said in the beginning, obviously some people don't want to donate online. They might be really interested in the topic and they might have read all the emails and clicked on all the links, but they didn't convert. And usually this is where online stops. But we took it a bit further, and that's actually what marketing automation is able to do, that we scored all the people with an engagement scoring. And what does engagement scoring mean? So with each opening of an email, a person gets 5 points, and with each click of a link in an email, a person gets, for example, 10 points. And for example, if someone shares an email, they get 15 points. And over the course of 7 emails, there will be a number, and if the number is higher than 44, all the people were put on a separate list. And Gino actually called them. Actually, in this case, they weren't put on a separate list, but Gino got notified that there were people who are really engaged and that he should call them. And he actually did that. And the feedback he got from the people was really, really positive. So the people actually were really interested and engaged in talking to him. And they were also because they already knew about the topic, and they weren't really astonished that somebody is calling them. They were really, really close to the organization as well. So that was also something really, really nice, because it's not like you have an anonymous list that you're cold calling, and people are more annoyed that you call them. No, in this case, they were annoyed because they already knew about the topic. They were engaged because they had an engagement score that is higher than 44. And so a lot of people also donated via phone.
Okay, so now we saw how to generate leads and how to get them to make their first donation. Now let's have a look at what you can do with marketing automation in terms of retention. We will look at a case which I personally really like. It's the case of Fairmed, which is a small to medium organization in Switzerland, taking care of the so-called forgotten diseases. So, diseases many people are affected from in developing countries, but that are not really in the public awareness nowadays. Fairmed does a lot of acquisition through face-to-face. So not digital, it's the good old face-to-face fundraising with fundraisers on the street. And they actually had one issue. So they were able to generate new supporters through face-to-face, quite a good amount, but many of them dropped. So in Switzerland, actually, the process of face-to-face is that people get convinced on the street. They get to sign a form where they pledge to donate a certain amount every month, which can be charged from their bank account. But it usually takes 3 to 4 weeks until the first charge is executed. So Fairmed's issue was that within these 3 to 4 weeks, many people called the organization telling them, oh, guess what, I actually would like to stop it. So that was an issue because obviously they invested quite a lot of money in their face-to-face fundraising program, and they want to make sure to get more out of this investment. So our target in that campaign was to raise retention and to make sure that less people drop. So actually wanted to get people to get committed, to make this, to sign this form, and then to reduce the amount of people dropping. Now, as I said, Fairmed is working in remote countries, in the third world, in developing countries, and one of the countries they are working in is Nepal. So we had to think about a story. What is the story we want to tell in order to make people stay with the organization? And we decided to use a hero in that story. And this hero was called Nobina. And I mean, it's not a imaginary hero. Nobina is a real person working for Fairmed in Nepal. So we decided to take these people subscribing on the street on a digital journey to Nepal to get them to stay committed and prevent them from dropping. So this was actually what the process looked like. We had people on the street with tablets. So they were asking peasants to sign for a regular donation. And that was the main goal. But if somebody didn't want to make such a large commitment on the street, as a fallback, they asked them to leave their contact data. So they also did lead generation as a second target. After the data was collected on the street through the tablet app, it was sent through an API to our marketing automation solution. And so we were able to, within some seconds after signing the form on the street, to send a first email, which was executed in 2 versions. One just saying thank you for the donation and for signing up, and the other saying thank you for your interest in our course. After that, the journey started. So we used email and SMS communication to go through this journey in Nepal. And then what we did at the end, we knew pretty exactly what will be the day when the first charge is done. And we also knew when people might drop their approval to charge their account. So we thought, okay, it could be nice to have a physical touch point in their homes, so that they are reminded of why they signed up for Fairmed. So in the end of this process, we also sent a physical postcard from Nobina to them. So, well, that was how the first email looked like, and that was actually sent from a Fairmed representative in Switzerland, who was basically saying, thank you, welcome on board, and now you can start your journey. So that was the first, so we always used emails and landing pages, and I mean, the first landing pages was like explaining what Fairmed is doing in Nepal, why they are doing it, and as said, the sender was Bart from Fairmed in Switzerland. And then he was handing over to Nobina, and she was writing a nice email, which was a little bit letter-styled, saying something like, Namaste, hi, I'm Nobina, and within next weeks I will show you the beautiful country of Nepal, where I'm working as a social mobilizator for Fairmed. And after that, basically in each email it was about showing one project of Fairmed. So it was Nobina writing, and she was taking people into different places in Lagash, in her hometown in Nepal. So one, for example, was visiting a program for young mothers about health and safety for children. So it was always the email and then a nicely designed landing page. So, and within that communication, we also tried to be a bit surprising. At some point, Nobina said something like, oh, you know, I need to get home before nightfall, as in the forests here, there are tigers around. And on the same day, like at 9 p.m., something like that, people got a text message saying, oh, you know, I got home safely, the tigers didn't get me. I'll get back to you shortly, best Nobina. And this is the postal card we sent. So of course we couldn't send that from Nepal. We used a Swiss service, but well, actually it was also like transferring people from the online journey to the physical world, which I think is actually one of the big advantages we can get from marketing automation, that we really are able to automate across different channels and to get this so-called one person, one customer view everybody's speaking about. Really can get that into one tool that executes all the communication on all channels. So now, as I said in the beginning, the goal was to get less people to drop off. And what we could achieve with this digital journey attached to the face-to-face program was that we get 10% more realization rate. So 10% more people were willing to pay the first time compared to the previous campaign. That's pretty amazing, especially thinking about that investment in face-to-face is quite a big investment for FREMET, as it also is for most other organizations doing face-to-face fundraising. So that's already a pretty nice number, but the nice thing about it is that it doesn't stop here. So okay, we had this campaign, but I mean, FREMET is going to make face-to-face fundraising next year as well. And actually, they can just reuse the same automation for the next face-to-face fundraising campaign. Or even better, we can analyze what worked well, what could be optimized, and do even better next year. And it doesn't even stop here, because actually face-to-face is just one entry point for this journey. They could also connect their online donation form, for example. So that's what we're speaking about right now with them. How can we get even more people into this journey in order to get even more out of the automation we created? And I think that's actually also something, it's like a mind shift we need to do in fundraising. When we create journeys and when we run marketing automation, we shouldn't think in campaigns like we've done so far in fundraising. It's not just like saying, okay, I have a campaign that starts on March 15th and ends on May 20th. It's an ongoing process. So we can, for example, create an onboarding journey for new donors, and we just use them for all new donors. It doesn't have to have a certain start or end date. It's just there and it works and it continues to onboard people, to get more donations for you. It's like a machine that you need to set up once and then you need to adjust from time to time, but it basically just works and works and works for you.
Yeah, and that's all the difference to the normal newsletter, because when you obviously newsletter or email marketing is a pretty important tool for digital fundraising, and you can convert a lot of people with email marketing. But there you have that phenomenon that you have to make quite an effort to create the newsletter, and then you send it out once, and maybe you send it out again to the people who did it, but that was it. You had a high investment with your time to create the newsletter, and then it just evaporates. And that's the difference to marketing automation. The investment of time, obviously, to set it up is not low, but then you can use it for the next few years. So that's the beauty of marketing automation. And you can focus then on the really important things that make fundraising good. So how can you make your fundraising better? You don't need to waste your time with setting up newsletters over and over again that just go away.
That was a good statement.
Thank you. So we are really looking forward to your questions that you can ask now in the comment section below our live video here at Fundraising Online. And so just shoot away. I'm really curious. I really want to get into that conversation right now. I think Gregor as well. So we will be online right now and answer your questions about marketing automation, about the cases, and again, also about digital fundraising overall.
Looking forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you.